Good afternoon. My name is Hilary Haakenson, and I'm here to talk to you about a piece of art that I love to teach. The painting I selected is by Jacques-Louis David. It's Napoleon Crossing the Alps, or Napoleon Crossing the Saint-Bernard. It was commissioned in 1800 by Charles IV and was intended to hang in the Royal Palace in Madrid. Now, both Charles IV and Napoleon were very aware of the power of art to serve the needs of empire, to serve as a propagandistic tool to promote power and prestige of the individuals within that empire. And that's what we see happening in this image. So how is it done? If we look at the composition first, pushed right up against our picture plane are two enormous figures. Napoleon is dressed in elegant attire of a general. At this point, he's a general, though he later proclaims himself the emperor. And he's seated atop a giant stallion. This white stallion is rearing up. Its front 2 feet are off the ground, and it looks almost as if it might back up into the abyss behind it, as if the weight and the chaos of it might come tumbling towards us as viewers who see ourselves perhaps as in that space of the abyss. The whole image is quite dynamic. The landscape and the atmosphere contributes to this. The background we see is full of a storm. Clouds dart across the sky. The mountains appear rugged. There is no vegetation that grows on these mountains. The wind seems to be swirling dust around. In fact, it's picked up the mane of the horse, the tail of the horse, as well as the cape that Napoleon himself is wearing. That adds to this sense of dynamism, of adventure, of chaos, and of danger that are all communicated to us through the image. But Napoleon looks right out at us. In the midst of that, he seems extremely stable. In part, this is because of the composition of the image, which follows a traditional pyramidal or triangular compositional format, which is restful for our eye. It feels stable when we look at images that follow a triangular composition. We can follow that triangle up through the hooves of the horse and through the forearms of the horse, along the neckline and the reins, up through the ear, and to the very point, very apex of this image, which is Napoleon's finger, an emblem of his power to control the forces of his troops and of the world around him. From that apex, we can follow the other side of the triangle down through his arm, directly through his gaze, across his shoulder, and down the rear of the horse through its tail and back down to the ground. This stable pyramid or triangle counters all the chaos in the image. It suggests that Napoleon himself is capable of taking that chaos, wielding it, and controlling it. In fact, the way he gestures to us, we feel that we should join his troops, that he's commanding upward through his own cape. His arm directly, the angle of his arm directly parallels the angle of the mountains. And beneath the body of the horse, we see his troops rolling a cart with wooden wheels up the hill. Beneath the horse, we also see the name Bonaparte written into the stone, inscribed in the very earth beneath him. It seems as if he's taken control of that earth by placing his name upon it. Next to his own name are the names Hannibal and Carolus Magnus. Both of these names represent men, and those men were also interested in conquest and empire, and they also crossed the Alps in order to get it. Now, I mentioned that Napoleon is highly aware of the power that art wields. It can be a sort of advertisement, and that's very much what this is, because if we look at the facts, well, Napoleon didn't exactly cross the Alps on a stallion. In fact, he crossed it on a donkey. He also didn't cross with his own troops. He wasn't at the head leading the charge, as this image depicts him doing. Instead, he actually sent them ahead, and they did most of the dirty work before he arrived. He came 2 days later.